All right, in the previous lesson, we were largely focused on doing some basic mole-to-mole stoichiometric problems. We were converting moles of known to moles of the unknown, so they were one-step stoich problems. Today, we're going to focus on moles to mass or mass to moles. These are going to be two steps. And so basically how this works, if I'm doing like mass to moles, I know mass of the known. I have to first use the molar mass to get to moles of the known, and then I do my mole ratio, so just like yesterday. So this is just two steps. I do the molar mass first, then the mole ratio. The only other type that we're going to be practicing today is going to be the moles to mass, which is just the reverse of this. So you do the mole ratio first. So if you start with moles of the known, you convert it to moles of the unknown, and then using its molar mass, you convert to mass of the unknown. So it's just two steps, two conversion factors. So really not hard. It's just, once again, just kind of building on our prior knowledge. So we'll work through a couple of these, and then I'll give you some problems to practice. Okay, so let's look at this. So mass to mole, mole to mass. So here I have an equation, sodium and chlorine turning into sodium chloride. I want to calculate the mass of sodium chloride produced by reacting 4.7 moles of chlorine with excess sodium. First thing we have to do is balance, just like always. Let's see, 2 chlorines. I'm going to flop a 2 there to balance that guy. 2 in front of the sodium. We should be good. Okay, so now we're starting with moles, and we're going to grams. So if we start with moles, let's look at our map. That means we're starting here at this part. We're starting with moles of the known, so we need to do our mole ratio to get to moles of the unknown, and then molar mass of the unknown substance. So 2 steps starting with the mole ratio. Every stoich problem will include a mole ratio. If it doesn't, you screwed up. Okay, so let's start out with what we know. We know we have 4.7 moles of chlorine. Okay, and we're going from chlorine to sodium chloride. So the first thing we have to do is our mole ratio. Well, according to our balance formula, for every 1 mole of chlorine, which has to go on the bottom so it cancels, there are 2 moles of sodium chloride. If I stopped and solved at this point, my answer would be in moles of sodium chloride. I don't want moles of sodium chloride. I want grams. So what I need to do is I need to do its molar mass. Now, the thing you have to recall, this is where students will make a mistake. Okay, when you're doing the molar mass, first we have to add up, okay, sodium's 22.99, and oops, chlorine is 35.45. That should be, what, 58.44, I believe. Okay, so what we need to do is when you do this, you don't want to put 2 moles, even though there is a 2 here, we don't want to put 2 moles of sodium chlorine because the molar mass, this is grams per 1 mole. You know, if you want to do 2 moles down there, yeah, feel free, but what you got to do then is you've got to take and multiply that molar mass times 2, and why make more work? So whenever you're doing moles and grams, it's always 1 mole, just like before. But when you do the mole ratio, the coefficients are what the mole numbers are. So that's always for this step. This step, it's always going to be 1 mole. 1 mole of sodium chloride, and we said is 58.44 grams of sodium chloride. Moles cancel, and we're ready to solve. And so I'm going to grab my magic box. I'm going to say, okay, we got 4.7 times 2 times 58.44. I don't have to divide by the ones because they're the same. My calculator poops out 549.336. Okay, I have 2 sig figs in my answer, so this has to be 550, and this is going to be grams of sodium chloride is my answer with significant figures. You cannot put a decimal. You cannot write 549. 2 sig figs is 550. Okay, so not too bad. Let's do one more. Then I'm going to give you guys some time to practice because this really isn't anything new. Okay, so we have hydrochloric acid, calcium hydroxide turning into calcium chloride and water. Okay, first thing we got to do is we got to balance this guy. Okay, so at first, let's see. If I end up putting a 2 here, that's going to balance the chlorines. 1 calcium on each side, that looks good. Hydrogens, I have 4 and 2 oxygen. So all I have to do is put a 2 there. That balances both the hydrogen and the oxygen. So 2, 1, 1, 2 are the coefficients. Okay, in this one, I know the grams and I'm going to moles. So I'm starting with grams, I'm going to moles. So if I'm going from grams to moles, let's go back and look at our map. Well, it's just the opposite of the one we just did. So we're starting here at grams. So we do the molar mass first, then the mole ratio. 2 steps, it's just reverse from the other one, so not a big deal. Let's see, start with what we know. 79.8 grams hydrochloric acid. So we need to know the molar mass. And so even though there's 2 HCl's, because we're doing moles and grams, it's 1 mole. The mole is going to go on top so that the grams cancel. 1 mole of HCl. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take that molar mass, which is 36.46. All we had to do is sum up 35.45 plus 1.01. And this is grams. Grams cancel. If I stop and solve now, my answer is in moles of HCl. But I don't want moles of HCl, I want moles of calcium hydroxide. Well, you'll notice from the equation for every 1 calcium hydroxide, there's 2 hydrochlorics. And so I need that mole ratio. The hydrochloric needs to go on bottom, so they cancel. How many? 2. 2 moles of HCl, and on top, 1 mole calcium hydroxide. Moles cancel. I'm ready to solve. I'm going to get out my magic box. So I'm going to hit 79.8 times. I don't have to do times 1 times 1. I'm just going to divide by 36.46. And then I'm going to divide again by 2. When I do so, my calculator poops out 1.094349973. Okay, I've got 3 sig figs there, so it needs to be 1.09. The unit is moles, the label, calcium hydroxide. So pretty much straightforward. So, I mean, if you understand, what we were doing yesterday, we're just adding another step. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and give you some practice problems for tomorrow. Go ahead and practice those, and just like before, I'll give you a solution guide to those.